Good evening and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admission Officers, or CACRAO, and StriveScan. We thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can utilize the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions made available through the CACRAO StriveScan partnership, so we encourage you to check out the full schedule online at cacrao.org. Lastly, a recording will be made available of this particular session once it has concluded. Now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters so they can begin their session.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here this evening. My name is Savannah Purdy, and I am an admission counselor here at UNC Asheville. I'm also an alumna of UNC Asheville, so fair warning, I'm a bit biased. I think UNCA is a really special place. Just to give you a quick rundown of what you can expect in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to do kind of our general information presentation, talk about the opportunities available at the UNC Asheville, what makes us unique, and then talk a little bit about the application process. Then we're going to have one of our very own student ambassadors, Liz, tell you a little bit about her experience at UNCA. And then we have one of our faculty, Dr. Kreiser, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the work that she does with our first and second year success programs and what it's like being a faculty member. So also know that one of my coworkers, Grace and Randall, is in the Q&A section throughout the meeting. So as you have questions about UNC Asheville, feel free at any point to use that feature to chat with Grace and get your questions answered. All right. UNC Asheville is one of the 16 public universities in the UNC system. We have a unique and very special mission. We are the designated and only liberal arts school for the UNC system. So we focus on the liberal arts and sciences. What does that mean? It means that in practicality, we focus on interdisciplinary learning. We are all about collaboration and communication across academic disciplines. We want you taking classes outside and inside of your major all 4 years that you're with us. And overall, about a third of your overall coursework is going to be outside of your major. We think this is important because, for example, we think you're going to be a better biologist if you have some understanding of political science. We think that you are going to be a better journalist if you have some grasp of environmental science. And in general, we think it's really good practice to teach our students critical thinking and communication with folks from all different perspectives. So that's kind of what liberal arts means in general. And if you want to play a little game, you can count how many times I say interdisciplinary throughout the presentation. It'll definitely come up in various examples. Most liberal arts schools tend to be smaller because we do have that focus on conversation and discussion-based learning in our classrooms. UNC Asheville overall is about 3,600 students. And our average class size is 20 students. So again, I'm biased, but I think it's a really great kind of Goldilocks size. You know, it's not, the campus isn't too big and it's not too small. It is small enough to know and be known by your peers and by your faculty. And it is big enough to offer you opportunities like study abroad, research, Greek life, Division I athletics, all those things that you think of when you think of your university experience. I do want to mention a couple special things about our faculty. We are a primarily undergraduate institution. Fewer than 50 of our 3,600 students are graduate students. So what that means is you aren't going to have any teaching assistants or graduate assistants teaching any of your courses. Every single one of your courses is going to be faculty taught. And about 90% of our faculty have terminal degrees in their field. They just really like working with undergraduate students. And from an alum's perspective, I can tell you that the relationships that I was able to build with faculty and the way that my professors were able to also mentor me was the most valuable piece of my educational experience at UNC Asheville. So do keep that in mind. This photo is, we like to highlight it. It's a really great example of both kind of the hands-on work that we do on our campus and also the collaborative interdisciplinary work that we do on our campus. So the STEAM studio is a making space on campus. It's about 12,000 square feet. And it was designed to be shared by our engineering department and our art department. So we've got our engineers and our artists working together on projects all the time. This particular photo we're super proud of. Wake is, to date, the largest public art installation ever in Times Square in New York City. And so in 2017, we designed it, built it here on our campus, and transported it up to New York City for installation for about 2 months. So it was a really cool project that we're super proud of. We are all about experiential learning, learning by doing, hands-on learning, whether that's discussions in your classroom, working in the STEAM studio, maybe that's an internship. About over half of our students do some sort of internship. Maybe that's undergraduate research. So as I mentioned, we are an undergraduate focused institution, which means that you as an undergrad don't have to compete with graduate students when it comes to research opportunities, research funding, time and energy from our faculty. And so you have the opportunity as a graduate student to do graduate level research here with us. We actually founded the National Conference on Undergraduate Research about 35 years ago now. And so we send students to regional and national conferences every year to present their work. A lot of our students will publish in academic journals before they graduate. This past year in 2020, about 70% of our graduates had completed original undergraduate research. So whether you are looking towards graduate school or a career in research, or if you're just really creative and curious, undergraduate research program is a really great opportunity. Natasha here is our example. She got a grant to study plant biodiversity on college campuses and got a paper published. I think it's important to know a lot of times, at least when I hear the term research, I tend to think of work going on in biology or chemistry labs, and certainly there's a lot of that going on here at UNC Asheville. But you can do research in any field, and it's also a great opportunity to do, again, interdisciplinary work. So one of my favorite examples is we had a student a few years ago who was an art major, and she did a collaborative project with our neuroscience department. And so her project was all about the neuroscience of empathy and what goes on in our brains when we perceive artwork that elicits an empathetic response. So you can do lots of really cool things through undergraduate research. Here are a list of our majors. I want to say that if you know what you want to study already, that is awesome. If you don't know what you want to major in, or you're kind of toying between several different options, that's totally okay too. I don't want you to put more pressure on yourself at 17 to know what you want to do with the rest of your life. College can absolutely be a part of that process and kind of finding your niche and finding your passions and developing those. Here at UNC Asheville, we do not admit based on major, and you don't have to declare a major until your second year with us. So you have time to try on different majors, take classes in different departments, see which faculty you connect with, talk one-on-one with those faculty about your interests and how their field may or may not further those interests. So I will just cover some of our popular majors. Environmental studies is one of our most popular majors. So you can kind of focus on the environmental and earth science side or the policy and management side. Sustainability is one of our core values as an institution and a big passion of a lot of our students. So if you are passionate about sustainability and development, there's a lot of cool things happening in that department. Biology, psychology, and management, which is our business program. Those are 3 of the top undergraduate majors in the nation right now, so they all fall in our top 5 as well. And then new media is our 5th most popular major this year. New media is going to be kind of where art and computer science intersect. So new media is going to be graphic design, animation, virtual reality development, web design, game design, those sorts of things. Mechatronics engineering is also pretty popular and really special here. Mechatronics is a particular kind of engineering that is a blend between electrical and mechanical engineering and computer science. It's essentially robotics. So it is in partnership with NC State. You're going to have NC State on your diploma. You're going to have a lot of those resources from NC State, but you're going to be all 4 years here on our campus with our engineering faculty. Atmospheric science is also really special here. So that's going to be meteorology and climate science. We have NEMAC here on campus, which is the National Environmental Modeling and Analysis Center. They're doing national climate science research, and they hire interns every semester from our student body. So it's a really exciting opportunity if you're interested in atmospheric sciences and climate change. Music technology is another special one. That is a Bachelor of Science degree in sound engineering. So we have a recording studio on campus. You're going to learn all about music production, recording, sound design, engineering, and technology. Interdisciplinary studies is also pretty special. It's where you can design your own major. So it's not a pick and mix. You do have to design some course of study. We want to make sure that you have depth as well as breadth in your studies. But if you have a particular goal in mind that is interdisciplinary by nature, you can work with our faculty to design your own major. A few years ago, we had a student design her own environmental journalism major, where she took courses from environmental studies, mass communications, chemistry, biology, and English, and made her own major. So I think those are the ones that I'm going to cover for now. Obviously, if you have more questions, do feel free to reach out to our office. We have amazing faculty representatives from each of these departments. So if you have more specific questions about a major or a program, we're happy to connect you with faculty. You can minor in any of the majors you just saw. These minors that are listed here are just offered as minors right now. Pre-professional programs, I'll just cover those. The 2+2 program, 2+2 engineering program with NC State is where if you want to do any type of engineering that is not mechatronics, if you want to do civil engineering, environmental engineering, they have 18 different engineering concentrations. But maybe you're drawn to the smaller class sizes, maybe you're drawn to the mountains. You can do your first 2 years here with us and get your foundations of engineering and then transfer to complete your degree at NC State. And you'll have both NC State and UNC Asheville on your diploma. NC State's about 10 times larger than we are. So maybe starting off in a smaller classroom is gonna be beneficial for you. There are lots of reasons people choose to do that program. Then we have our pre-health professions that are tracks you pair with your major. So for example, if you want to do pre-medicine, a lot of our pre-med students will study biology because that's where a lot of the prerequisites for medical school are. But we have students who major in history and math and political science and go on to medical school. So the pre-professional track approach allows you a little more flexibility in your course of study while also making sure you have everything you need and you're prepared every step of the way, and that you have a mentor who's going to help you applying to whatever graduate level school you're going to. Finally, I'll mention our teaching licensure. So we don't have an education major. We approach things a little bit differently. We have a licensure program, and how that works is if you want to be a teacher, we want you to major in your content area. So for example, if you love math so much that you want to be a middle school math teacher, that is awesome. We want you to major in math and get really good at math and spend 4 years studying math while also taking courses in our education department to become licensed to teach in your grade level. And they're gonna have you placed in local schools. You're gonna have a full semester of student teaching under your belt and be prepared to take all the examinations you need to become licensed to teach. So that when you graduate, if you wanna be a high school English teacher, you're gonna graduate with a bachelor's degree in English literature and a teaching license in 9th through 12th grade. So I hope that makes sense. Again, if you have more questions, we have an amazing teacher recruitment liaison that we'd be happy to connect you with. So if you have been to Asheville, you already know what a special place it is. If you have not been, I hope you will come over and visit us. We are the largest city in North Carolina west of Charlotte, and we're kind of nestled in a valley in the Blue Ridge Mountains that you can see from that photo there. Downtown Asheville is a mile away from our campus, so everything that downtown has to offer is super accessible. It's a really cool area, lots of really great live music venues, art studios and galleries, lots of really unique local restaurants. It's such a foodie town, festivals, speakers, all the kind of things that you would want. If you have been to downtown Asheville and you pick up on kind of that maybe artsy, hipster, maybe crunchy, maybe granola, whatever word you want to put on that vibe that Asheville has, that definitely translates to our campus. So if you've been to Asheville before and not been to our campus, if you liked Asheville, you'll like our campus. And then I think we have the best of both worlds because we are a mile from downtown and 10 minutes from the Blue Ridge Parkway. So any outdoor activities that you are interested in are right in your backyard, whether that's just a drive on the parkway or biking, hiking, camping, rock climbing, snowboarding, skiing, rafting, kayaking. All those kinds of things are really accessible. We have about 80 active student organizations, and our most popular by far is outdoor programs. So that organization leads trips, hiking, doing all the sports that I just listed. They lead trips, they provide transportation and equipment and training. If you've never been in a kayak before, they're gonna put you in a kayak in our pool on campus to teach you how to roll and paddle and make sure you're safe. So it's a really excellent organization. Pretty much any extracurricular community that you're looking for, you're going to be able to find on campus. We've got organizations from everything from service-based organizations to academic honor societies, club sports, identity-based affinity groups like Black Student Association or Hillel for our Jewish students. You've got hobbies and interest clubs, right? So we've got anime club and hula hooping club and cult film club. So lots of really cool things for you to try out once you're here. A couple logistics about student life. First year students are required to live on campus. You are welcome to live on campus all 4 years if you choose, and about half of our student body does live on campus at any time. All of our residence halls are suite style. So we have 4- and 6-person suites across all of our buildings on campus. You're not going to have the dormitory hall bathroom situation where you're sharing a bathroom with 30 people. And I promise that's going to have a big impact on your quality of life. Okay, so I'm sure Liz will tell us a little bit more about the student experience, but I want to make sure we cover the money side of things. If I could give one piece of advice to myself at 17, it would be to ask more questions about money. So we are looking at 2 different numbers here. And I also want to point out that most small liberal arts schools that look like UNC Asheville and feel like UNC Asheville are going to be private institutions. And so I do think it's really special that the state of North Carolina is offering this experience as a public institution. The direct cost, which is going to be your housing, meal plan, tuition, and fees for the year before financial aid, is that $17,000 number. The budgeted cost is what we base financial aid on. So we want to be able to help you with all expenses associated with college. So we add in really generous estimates for books, supplies, transportation, personal expenses. What if you have to buy a laptop? What if you have to buy an outfit for an interview? Those sorts of things. So that's what that $20,000 number is. So I just want to be clear on the difference of those numbers and what college costs. The FAFSA is going to open up October 1st, so you'll want to fill that out in the fall of your senior year. It is the federal application for aid, but it's what we use to base all financial aid on, except for our exclusively admission-based merit scholarship, which I'll cover in a moment. You can get financial aid from the federal government, the state government, and individual institutions. So grants, loans, and scholarships can come from the federal government, the state government, or UNC Asheville specifically. And so to streamline that process and make it as equitable as possible, we use the FAFSA to award all of that. So even if you don't think that you're going to qualify for federal aid or you don't want student loans, do fill out the FAFSA. We may have grant money at UNC Asheville that we could consider you for, that we would need a FAFSA in order to award that to you. So do the FAFSA, and then the merit-based scholarships through admissions are going to be based on your application for admission, so you don't have to submit a separate scholarship application. I would also encourage you to be using cfnc.org to search for outside scholarships. The College Foundation of North Carolina has a really great resource where you can find corporate-based scholarships, community organization-based scholarships, essay-based scholarships. All of that we call third-party or outside money. We don't cap that. So as much, if you win a $500 scholarship from your community organization or a corporation in your area, it all adds up, right? So that is money covered. These are minimum course requirements for all UNC system schools. Most high schools have these as their graduation requirements. Sometimes where we see people tripped up, we want to make sure that you have a 4th math that is above Algebra 2. So Algebra 2 needs to be a prerequisite for your 4th math. Make sure that you have 2 social studies, one of which needs to be US history. And then you need 2 consecutive units of a second language. So French 1 and French 2, not Spanish 1 and German 2. You can apply via the common application or the CFNC application. It does not matter to us which one you use. The common application is accepted at the most universities, so it can be helpful if you just fill out that one application. You can send it lots of different places, both in-state and out-of-state. CFNC is the College Foundation of North Carolina. And one important thing to note about that is that CFNC hosts a free application week, which actually this year is 2 weeks, and UNC Asheville is participating in free application week this year. So from October 19th to October 30th, if you submit a CFNC application to UNC Asheville and check fee waiver when you submit, we will waive your application fee on the back end. So tuck that helpful piece of knowledge up there. We have early decision and regular decision applications. Early decision is a binding application. That means that if you apply early decision and you are admitted via early decision, you are agreeing to enroll at the institution. This is a little tricky because we are the only public university in North Carolina that has early decision. And we have that just because we are so unique within the system. So early decision is essentially a way for you to raise your hand and say, UNC Asheville is my top choice. This is where I want to be. I want that public, small, liberal arts experience. And if you've ever been to Disney World, it's basically like a fast pass. If you apply early decision, we will read all the early decision applications first and then release your decisions earlier. If you're not ready to make that commitment, if you want to keep your options open and you're not quite sure where you want to be next fall, that is totally fine. Regular decision is non-binding and it is currently open as well. Both early decision and regular decision applications get reviewed for merit scholarships. So don't let that be a thing that makes you nervous. If you have any questions about what early decision means or how you should apply, that's what your admission counselors are for. You can reach out to us. We have counselors who work with students by geographic area. And so you have a person, whether you know their name or not, you have a person at UNC Asheville who is there to help you and answer any questions that you may have about early decision or any part of the application process. Finally, I'll talk through what we're looking at when we look at applications. So the application fee is $75 unless you have an application fee waiver. If you qualified for testing waivers through College Board, you should also have application fee waivers, or you can talk to your school counselor or apply through CFNC for College Application Week. Don't let the application fee be a barrier to you. So when we look at the actual application, we do a really holistic review at UNC Asheville. Every school is different in the way that they read applications and what they're looking for. At UNC Asheville, we're a small school and a small office, and we tend to know a lot of our applicants very as individuals. And so there is not a certain GPA or test score that we are looking for in order to admit students. We really want to get a whole picture of who you are as a person and a student. So the essay is what I read first when I'm reading an application. The essay is what tells me who you are outside of your GPA and test scores and your list of extracurriculars, right? Your essay lets me hear your voice, and it's the thing that you have the most control over in your application. The essay is what sets you apart from every other application that I've read that day. So that being said, I would recommend that you not write an essay on COVID-19. I know that COVID-19 has impacted us all in various different ways, but it is something that everyone is experiencing this year. And so I would encourage you to use the essay to tell me what is unique about you. What do you like about yourself? What are you excited about? What would you want me to know about you the first time I meet you? There is an additional information section below the essay section on both Common App and CFNC. So if you need to tell your admission counselor context about your life, whether that be how COVID-19 has impacted you and your family, or if you have a dip in your grades in a particular semester because you had a health issue or a family issue, any of that kind of context that helps us understand your application, you can put in the additional section information. So I'll read your essay, then I'll read additional information, then I look at your transcript. And again, I'm not looking for a certain GPA. Every school is different and has different opportunities. So I'm looking to see, I literally read through freshman year up until now. And I see what classes you're taking. Are you challenging yourself? Are you taking advantages of advanced coursework, whether it be honors, AP, IB, dual enrollment? And are you making A's and B's? If you have a couple C's in there, it's okay. It's all about balance, right? Then test scores. So this is different this year. The whole UNC system has waived the requirement for test scores. You do not have to submit an SAT or ACT score this year. If you would like to, you are welcome to. Our averages last year were a 26 on the ACT and a 1200 on the SAT. So if you have a test score that is above those numbers, I would recommend you submit the score as a supplemental benefit to your application. If you weren't able to take the test, or you're not a good test taker, you didn't feel good about your score, you do not have to submit a test score, and that's not going to impact you negatively in terms of your admission or merit scholarships. Then finally, I look at your letter of recommendation. So we require one letter of recommendation from either a teacher or a counselor. Make sure that you ask them earlier in the year rather than later. They tend to get pretty swamped. And if you want to submit 2 or 3 letters of recommendation, if you have several teachers who you feel like know you really well and would benefit your application, you're welcome to submit those, but we only require 1 to complete your application. That's all the information I have for you. Here is our general contact information. You can find who your counselor is on our website. So if you want to see like who works with students from Charlotte, that's me. If you want to see students who works, or if you want to see the counselor who works with students from Eastern North Carolina, that's Grayson. So all of that is on our website. You can find us on social media. You can also find us in your podcast app. So we have a new podcast this year as a way to hopefully combat some of the Zoom fatigue that we are experiencing here in 2020. So hashtag AVL Bound is our new admissions podcast. If you want to continue learning about the application process in general and UNC Asheville specifically, you can find AVL Bound wherever you get your podcasts. So I will stop sharing my screen. And then Liz, are you ready to talk to the students about your student experience?
Yes.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Tell us all about you and why you came to UNC Asheville and what your favorite things are and all of you.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, my name is Liz. I am a third-year student here at UNC Asheville. I'm majoring in management with a minor in sociology. And I mean, I get this question a lot. Why did I choose UNC Asheville? Well, I mean, there's so many reasons. One, I mean, location, Asheville, such a beautiful city. I mean, of course, you think of like all the touristy things that you can do, but being a student here, I think I've definitely gotten to appreciate like those wild places. You get to like know all these super secret spots here too, which I think is pretty cool. And then our campus is just absolutely beautiful. I came and saw UNC Asheville like right at the beginning of spring, which is probably like the most beautiful time on campus.
Yeah.
Like just the amount of like greenery and like I love flowers. Just literally I have flowers sitting on my desk like right now. Just like walking through like the botans and walking through different little spots on campus, being able to see like that color was just like super comforting for me as well. And I think like one of my absolute favorite things is just the community aspect here on campus. Instantly, I felt super welcomed. Everyone was super nice. I came during Admitted Students Day.
Mm-hmm.
There were students everywhere. Everyone was super friendly. And I think like even now, with how our campus has changed with COVID, a lot of that community aspect still hasn't changed. And although we have like a smaller community on campus, everybody's still, I feel like pretty close-knit and trying to find different ways to keep that community aspect here on campus as well. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned little favorite secret spots. Do you have, I mean, are you comfortable sharing one of your secret spots? Like, what does that mean? Like, what's your favorite view or your favorite spot?
Yeah, so I am like a huge like foodie. I love trying new foods. And I think like downtown has a great food scene for sure, but I think downtown kind of outshines some of the other things that we have around town for sure. I love finding like new, I'm like super into like Asian food. And my family's from El Salvador, so definitely look for some spots with Salvadoran food as well. But I think one of my favorite spots that I've found so far would probably have to be either, it's this Mexican restaurant called El Chapala, which sells probably the most like the closest thing to like home cooked Mexican food that I have ever found, or a taste of El Salvador, because that just tastes like my mom's food.
That's awesome. That's so cool. What student organizations are you involved in?
So, ambassador here on campus. So if you ever come and take a tour of campus, I'm one of the tour guides that you could potentially get. Outside of student ambassadors, I'm a part of an organization called Prospanica. So they provide networking resources for Hispanic and Latinx students here on campus. So we do different things from like business seminars. This month, like we're working on how can we celebrate like Hispanic Heritage Month. And yeah, it's kind of centered a little bit more around like the business curriculum, but definitely like super welcoming. We have members from different backgrounds and ethnicities. And I think it's really cool just because like it's nice to be able to have something on campus that is not just centered for what I guess it's labeled, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, my final question. I love to hear about students' favorite professors. Do you have a favorite faculty member that you want to shout out or tell a story about?
I do. Oh my gosh, I feel like there's
I
always
didn't prepare you for that question.
I'm trying to think. Sometimes you just have these like funny moments with professors. But I think my all-time favorite professor that I've had so far would probably have to be Marcia Gadina. She's in the sociology department. She's she's just so down to earth, like love her, the sweetest human ever. And she also just has this like sense of humor that like if you don't pay attention, you're just not gonna catch the jokes. But I think for me, I took her intro to Soch class my freshman year, and one, being a person of color, it was a little bit uncomfortable for me to talk about some of the topics, just seeing as how a lot of the things that we talked about were things that I've experienced. And being one of the only students of color in my class was also very different for me. But I think just the way that like she made sure that I was 100% comfortable with the conversations that were being held in the class. If I ever needed a check-in or anything like that, like she was definitely 100% down to have me during office hours or after class or anything like that. And just the way that like she was open to feedback as well from me and from the other students of color in the class as to how she could make the class more comfortable and how we could talk about different topics. And I think that was really important for me to see how like my opinion was so valued in that class. And yeah, so I think
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I had Gadina as a student too, and I loved her. She's got a very dry wit. She's awesome to be in class with. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Liz, so much for sharing some of your experience. If you want to stick around for Q&A in a few minutes, that would be awesome. But now, Dr. Kreiser, would you tell us a little bit about your work and what it's like being faculty on campus?
Absolutely. And I love the shout out to one of my favorite colleagues, Dr. Dina. She is just so fabulous in every possible way. And I think she's really, what you shared, is really an embodiment of the commitment that many of our faculty have, especially those teaching in the first year experience. And so this is what I want to talk about a little bit here. Because our first year experience is really a 1 year experience, and it's designed to provide support for the students, biggest and most, one of the biggest and most exciting life transitions, right? It's moving from being a college student to being, from being a high school student to being a college student. And we understand that that can be quite a transition, and we have created a program with academics and extracurricular activities to make sure that everyone is well supported in that transition. And so part of the academics is we have 3 classes. The first year seminar that Liz just mentioned that Marcia Gadina taught. So that is our FYS 178. The topics range and depend on the instructors and the department that teaches them. But in addition to the topics that each instructor picks, there are some common, conversations about time management and how to study for tests and, how to find where to find resources and what resources are available on our campus. And I always say we have a resource for anything, like for everything. Any issue you encounter, like we have a resource. And if you talk to your first year seminar instructor, who's also your academic advisor, they're really invested in getting you connected and getting you to the places and people you need to be connected to. And then the other 2 classes that are part of the first year experience are Lang 120, which is critical inquiry and writing. And then Humanities 124, which is the first class in our humanities sequence. And it's really classes that are focused on skill building, on making sure that every student has the skills that are necessary to engage critically with materials that can be very varied, and write in whichever discipline you decide to focus on, really establish these foundational skills that provide you with good communication skills, to know how to function in a team environment, and really find your voice and find your footing on this campus. So that's what the academics are all about. And, also you get the opportunity to explore some of the topics and departments and academic divisions that we have on campus. And then on the non-academic or extracurricular side, you know, we have a lot of really cool things happening, making sure that people and students coming to us find their place. We really want students to find their place and kind of like stake their ground and be like, this is, you know, this is my thing at UNCA. And so we offer some living learning communities. So, you know, groups of people who live together in the residence halls who are, you know, combined by a common major or just a topic that they're interested in. We have a living learning community for computer science and atmospheric sciences. Wow. We have a living learning community focused on Athens and the classics department. We have one for engineering. So there's a lot of great work out there. We have a living learning community for first generation students, and we have a higher education program. So if any students are already in EVIT in their high schools, there's a transition for this to our campus that we're very proud of, and where we provide this additional support as well. You already mentioned the great outdoor programming, which I think is really important, just because we're such an outdoorsy place, and we really want to make sure that people understand and appreciate and kind of develop a commitment to preserve the great nature that is around us. And then, yeah, I think we really try to support students in finding their niche and finding their group, may it be through student organizations. If you don't find the one that you want, we make it really easy to create your own. And so there are a lot of opportunities to get involved, and really, we're really committed to making the first year experience an experience that is happening inside and outside of the classroom. And it's a really high touch experience where we really want to make sure that students have designated support people, be it their academic advisors, be it the professional advisors in the Office of Advising, to make sure that everyone gets the support that they need, which will look different for every one of the students. And we are small enough, but still with the resources to provide really individualized support. And on our campus, no student is a number. We know you, like as an instructor, we know you, we know your name. We notice if you're not in class, we're going to follow up with you and make sure that everyone is okay. So yeah, you got those emails. You know, but it's,
no, I went to class. I was there.
But we really, you know, like it's really hard to fall through the cracks, which I think really sets us apart from a lot of other schools in the system. And I know everybody is doing a good job. You know, I think every institution is committed to support students, but given our size and our student faculty ratio, we can just do a really, really good job at it. And I think that's what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Would you tell us a little bit, I don't think I even mentioned that you are a professor in our German department. Would you tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of on the faculty, you know, on the teaching side? Is there a student project that you mentored, or, you know, anything on the teaching side?
Sure. So I'm in the German program in the Department of Literatures and Languages, and we also offer Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Cherokee. And so we have a lot of exciting student work going on. I think we have a pretty good, what I'm really grateful for is the placement rate that we have with Fulbright. We have a good success rate there in sending students to Germany through Fulbright, which is a really prestigious organization, and we work with them and really mentor them through the process. And again, in our program for German specifically, like everybody who's a member of the program knows every student who is in that program, because we're small, you know, so we understand where students need to go. We can individualize our support if a student wants to explore a certain topic, and we have students explore, you know, everything. I mean, some people are interested in romantic poetry, and other people really want to investigate how migrants are being treated in Germany, and other people want to study, you know, film in post-World War II Germany. I mean, like students' interests vary, but because we're so small, we can say, if you're passionate about it, we find a way to support it. You bring it to us, and we sign you up for undergraduate research for an independent study. And our students really graduate with a high level of proficiency in German so that they can use it in a professional environment, which makes, you know, any language, but also German, a great double major or minor, because it really enhances any other degree a student can get.
That's awesome. I think what you said about how small we are, I think sometimes students will see our list of majors and we've got about like 30 majors. Other schools might have 100 majors, but I think because of what you were just talking about how close knit the different departments are, it's really accessible to work with the faculty on your specific interests, to do independent study or undergraduate research. So students have so many opportunities to pursue very specific interests here at UNC Asheville because we're so small.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we have these opportunities where you can create your own major. I mean, if you really don't find what you want, you go through the interdisciplinary studies program and you create your own major, and you have faculty who know each other, who trust each other, that are willing to collaborate with each other in creating a really impactful and tailored educational experience for each and every student.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to peek in. I know Grayson has been working in the Q&A. Seems like there's a lot of questions about specific programs, so I'm sure Grayson's already answered a lot of these, but I'll just mention a few out loud in case folks have similar interests. There's a question about our business program. We call it management. You know, we're a liberal artsy school, we're creative and wanted to be different and call it something else. So we call it our business program management, but there is an entrepreneurship component to that program as well as marketing. Liz, you're a business major, a management major. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I was one of those students that came in thinking that they were going to major in one thing, and then ended up switching my sophomore year. But so again, with us being a liberal arts school, we kind of get a taste of everything within our, like, it's just built into our curriculum. So I took an accounting class, and honestly, I was dreading it. I was like, this is going to be the worst. But I ended up, we had to go to this like department like meet and greet, and I talked to a lot of different faculty members while I was there, and I kind of feel like I had this misconception of what being like a business management major was going to be like, or what the department was going to be like, or the program. And I was kind of explaining to them how I wanted to do nonprofit work, and how I didn't really see anything within like our classes that had anything to do with nonprofit. But I ended up talking to one of our professors, Dr. Susan Clark-Montine, and she was talking about how she specializes in, like, she works with nonprofits around Asheville, and she teaches a lot of classes that, although they're not labeled directly for nonprofit, they talk a lot about that. And I feel like, one, everybody in the department, like professors, have been so easy to talk to. I switched advisors this year, and like they've been really supportive with just helping with the transition from one advisor to another. I also really like how we kind of get a touch of everything within the department as well. So even if you're wanting to do entrepreneurship, or you want to do accounting, or HR, or different things like that, you still kind of get a nice background and foundation on accounting, and you still get to do like marketing classes, and you get a really nice scope of everything within the major, which I really, really like.
It's like the major itself is interdisciplinary. That's so,
yeah.
That's so UNC Asheville. Cool. So I just want to wrap up. We've got a little less than 2 minutes left. There was a question about scholarships that I want to address in the Q&A. So we offer merit-based scholarships through the admission process that are based on your application for admission. Those are our PISCA scholarships. Those tend to range between $1,000 and $5,000 per academic year. It is a 4-year award. And then we also have Provost scholarships and McRae scholars. McRae scholars is like our Chancellor scholarship. So that is a $10,000 a year award for 4 years, plus a $10,000 stipend for undergraduate research, study abroad, and internships. Those are nomination based. So if you apply to UNC Asheville, we then will email your high school counselor in January and ask for nominations. So if you're interested, if you're really interested in UNC Asheville and you really want to be a provost or a McRae scholar, around January, maybe poke your school counselor and check if they've nominated you or gotten that email. Finally, I want to mention that we are having in-person tours. So 2020 is a weird time, but we are a small campus. I'm really proud of our student body and our staff for how well they have been taking care of each other and protecting everyone from COVID-19. So you can register, you must register for in-person tours on our website. You've got to wear a mask, and they are limited to one group per tour guide. So they're super spaced out. So if you do want to come to campus, maybe you'll get a tour with Liz. And we would love to see you on campus, and thanks so much for your time today. It's 5:45, I did it.
All right, thank you for joining us this evening. It was a great session. We ask that when you close your window that you complete a quick 4-question survey. That item should appear. We would value that feedback. CACRAO and Strive scan both. We encourage you also to take a look at additional sessions that are found on the CACRAO website. Lastly, a recording of this particular session will be made available shortly after it has concluded, also on the CACRAO website. Take care and have a wonderful evening.